21. When some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, he said, "As for these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another. All will be thrown down." They asked him, "Teacher, when will this be? And what will be the sign that this is about to take place?" And he said, "Beware that you are not led astray. For many will come in my name and say, 'I am he,' and the time is near. Do not go after them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for these things must take place first. But the end will not follow immediately." Then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines, plagues, and there will be dreadful portents and great signs from heaven. But before all this occurs, they will arrest you and persecute you. They will hand you over to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to testify. So make up your minds not to prepare your defense in advance. For I will give you words and a wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, by relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair of your head will perish. By your endurance, you will gain your souls." The Gospel of the Lord. Please be seated. Dear hearers of the Word of God, grace and peace to you from God our Father, from our Lord, and our living Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Recognize that one? Have you heard it? Have you said it? How about that one? Maybe both. We all understand the need to know. We want to know what's going on. There's a saying, knowledge is what? Power. We have calendars, we have alarms, we have things on our smartphones now that will alert us to things that we forgot about. Or if you do it right, they'll warn you ahead of time so that, oh, I have 10 minutes or a half hour to prepare or whatever. The thirst for knowing what to look for, what to plan for, things to check off the list. Or the calendar, whatever, the list or the calendar, or both, is as old as our reading from the Gospel today. Older, even. What is Luke talking about? As Luke tells the story, Jesus spoke these words from chapter 21 in the Gospel of Luke. Chapter 21. This is the Tuesday of that week. What week is this in the life of Jesus? Anybody know? Holy Week. Okay. Well, we're in November. We're not even in Thanksgiving isn't here yet. It's coming. Christmas is just around the corner, but in our gospel, Easter's around the corner. Good Friday is coming up. This is during Holy Week. And he's in the town of Jerusalem. Luke's gospel begins in the beginning, in the temple, and it ends in the temple. Luke loves Jerusalem. He loves the city. Everything revolves around the temple for Luke. Zechariah learned in the temple, and Elizabeth, that they will have a child. Mary and Joseph bring Jesus there for his dedication, where he's named. And Simeon and Anna make prophecy there when he's 8 days old in the temple. When Jesus is 12 years old, they came for the Passover. Mom and Dad, they came with their families and traveled together in a caravan. And on the way home, a couple days later, said, tell Jesus to get here and we're going to eat. He said, well, I thought you had it. No, I thought you had it. He stayed, and they found him in the temple teaching. In the shadow of the temple last week, Jesus was put to a test, a question about marriage and what happens when you die. Will you be married in heaven, and whose brother will be married to, because you've been married 7 different times. And it was a trick question. It was in the shadow of the temple. Luke mentions Jerusalem 90 times in his gospel. 90. If you took Matthew, Mark, and John, put them all together, they mention Jerusalem 49 times altogether. Luke 90 times. Well, it stands to reason. The temple is in Jerusalem. It's the dwelling place of God. Jerusalem is the place where God's glory will be revealed. It's also, in the Bible, in the Old Testament, a place where God is betrayed by those who hate good and those who love evil. Nothing happens in Jerusalem. Nothing that happens there is insignificant. When Jerusalem obeys God, everything is working fine. Everything is humming along. When it isn't, it wobbles out of bounds. Jesus and his disciples were coming out, standing on the Temple Mount, gazing at the temple. It started in 19 BC. That's when they started constructing it. It wasn't finished until 63 AD, the year of our Lord, 63. So when Jesus was alive, it wasn't finished yet. One of the things that Jesus says, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I'll build it again. They said, what are you talking about? It took 46 years to build this thing. They weren't done yet. They were still working on it. In fact, Herod refused to pay some of his builders so for 3 years they said, fine, we're not working. And the scaffolding was set up and the bricks, and you don't pay us, we're not going to work. And so finally they did. It was finally finished, but when Jesus saw it, it was almost completed. And it was magnificent. The white marble courtyard here, this is the main thing here. It was polished white marble, and so when the sun hit it, it looked like a snowy mountain. One of this is a description by the Jewish historian, his name is Josephus. He wrote that the gold on the temple reflected so fierce a blaze of fire that those who tried to look at it were forced to turn away. It seemed in the distance like a mountain covered in snow, for any part not covered in gold was dazzling white. Well, during the Passover, during Holy Week, when Jesus is now speaking here, the city's population has exploded because everyone was supposed to come during this high Holy Week. You had travelers from other countries that lived far away, so they took a long time to get there. They needed to offer sacrifice, and so instead of hauling their animals along the way and feeding them and taking care of them and making sure they didn't get injured, well, we're just going to offer it up as a sacrifice. Let's just bring the cash along and we'll buy our animal when we get to Jerusalem. And Jesus had something to do with that later on when he saw all the money laid out, and he tipped over the tables and drove the people out with the cords. Well, anyway, when he noticed all these people would come for the Passover during the week and offer up a lot of money, because they had all this money to bring and to buy, and he noticed how a lot of rich people were putting money into the treasury. He also noticed at the same moments before, he says this, he notices this woman. Do you remember how much money she had? How much did she put in? According to Luke, what did she put in? 2 copper coins. That's all she had. And she gave it all. She gave it all. All she had. Well, Jesus just came out of this temple, and the disciples stood looking back now at this, and their whole life they've seen it being constructed. They knew it wasn't quite done. They probably knew people worked on it. For them, it was going to last forever. Why wouldn't it? It was always there, and it's always going to be there. Until Jesus blurted out the truth. He stunned them. Not one stone will be left here upon another. All will be thrown down. It's hard to imagine that happening. Well, it's easy if you try. The disciples were bowled over by what Jesus described this way. And so they asked him, "Tell us then, when will this be? What will be the sign that this is about to take place?" That's what they're asking, aren't they? What will be the sign? Show us. What's going on? When? That's what they're after. And every generation of believers, from that time forward until this today right here, have struggled with these same questions. When is this going to happen? And none of us, none of them, back then, none of the disciples, then or now, I don't like it either. I don't like the answer Jesus gives. He says no. I'm not going to tell you when. I'm not going to give you a checklist. I'm not going to give you sight instead of faith. To those who fear the end is approaching, Jesus speaks with unwavering certainty and clear advice. This is from the Consumer Products Division of our government, federal government. Gift cards are a popular and convenient way to give someone a gift. They're also a popular way for scammers to steal money from you. That's because gift cards are like cash. If you buy a gift card and someone uses it, you probably cannot get your money back. Gift cards are for gifts, not payments. Anyone who demands payment by a gift card is always a scammer. This is brought up. We talked about this at our Bible study on Wednesday morning. A guy had a welding shop, and the power company called him and said, "We're going to shut off your power unless you pay us the bill." And he could go to Walgreens and pick up a gift card. And he's like, "Oh, I better." And his daughter goes, "What?" He says, "Yeah, we're going to shut off the power." He says, "Let me read that." And she said, "Okay, I smell a rat." He was ready to go to Walmart or buy a gift card, and once you scratch off the ID number, some of you use gift card. Well, they're like cash, it's gone. That's why they like to use it. Beware of the scam. There's scammers out there. That's today's news. This is nothing new. That's what Jesus says. Beware. Beware. What does it mean? To be wary, to be cautious, careful. Usually used imperatively with an exclamation point. Beware. I was looking up images here, and I saw, beware the dog, I'll find one. And it shows this smiley dog right next to the sign, smiley, next to the beware the dog. Well, that probably wouldn't have the same effect to somebody if they saw that smiley dog. But what's Jesus talking about here? Beware of the scammers out there. Beware of those that are going to say, "I'm the Messiah, I'm He, follow me. Give me your money, give me your time, give me something. You just give me the money and I'll make sure you'll get to heaven." That's what was happening on in the early church. That's why Paul wrote this letter in 2 Thessalonians. There's people that are sitting around and say, "Well, you know what, we'll do the prayer, we'll do the heavy lifting, you just make sure we're fed and give us some money and we'll make sure you're going to get to heaven." He's like, "No, it doesn't work that way. We didn't do that when we came. When we started this church, we weren't doing that. We didn't scam you and ask for money. We had our extra jobs. We did our thing, and we didn't ask for anything from you. We wanted to be this to be examples for you this way. We're not doing this to get something from you. Beware of that. And we've lived by this example too. If you don't work, you don't eat. We're all in this together. But he had to write those harsh words. He had to write them to remind them. Beware of those who are just sitting around. Don't get sucked into what they're saying. Jesus warns of misleading voices, twisted messages that conveniently leave out the rest of the story. He doesn't pretend that trouble and confusion are going to magically poof, poof, disappear. He doesn't bring out a magic wand because they don't work. But it is, as he says, the beginning of the birth pains. There are those who do and will continue to claim that he's Jesus, he's the Messiah. Don't go after him. But Lord, even if all there's terrible signs out there, so don't even do it then. Well, what if the sky is falling? No, don't do it then, especially then. For Jesus, his mode of operation is don't just do something. Stand there. Be firm. Be faithful. Do not go after them. Continue to be faithful. And that's why we have this here. Now we command you, beloved, in the name of our Lord Jesus, to keep away from believers who are living in idleness and not according to the tradition that they receive from us. Remember the traditions. Remember what we taught you. Don't chase after the novel, the newest thing, the next shiny object. And that's a temptation now, isn't it? Doesn't seem the way we always did things is working for us. Let's do this new thing. No. Paul says don't chase after them. Don't do that. Jesus says don't go after them. Remain in my word. Continue in my word. Painted in 1633, a fellow named Rembrandt. You may have heard of him. Earlier on, right after he calms the storm, that's the name of this painting, Jesus calms the storm, he asks the disciples, why are you afraid? Have you still no faith? Jesus refuses to help, to encourage his disciples' faint-heartedness, both on the boat, on the sea, and when they're on land. Later on, now, when they're on land, he can still sense that they're afraid and worried and anxious. He says, wait, calm down. I'm here. I'm with you. He didn't tell them to get on the boat and go across the other side so that he drowned them. No, he didn't do that. And he's not going to do it now. He didn't call his disciples to preach the gospel to all the world, so that their voices would be drowned out when the whole world is being shaken loose. So he cautions them again, do not be led astray. Do not fall into that trap. The fact that we are here today, worshiping here in November, is a testimony that Jesus did not abandon his disciples then. He doesn't just abandon us, his disciples, now. He sustained them and still sustains us. He promises to be with us, even as our own voices stammer or feet stumble, giving us the power to do what he calls us to do. The storms will come. Jesus is in the boat with them during the storm. He is in our boat with us during the storm. Jesus said, you will hear of wars, earthquakes, famines, all these terrible things, but it doesn't mean the end is near. It is an opportunity for you to testify. It is an opportunity for you to demonstrate what it means to live by faith. Don't worry about what to say. You'll be given. The power of the Spirit will give you what you need to say. Don't have to worry about it. Don't fret about that. Don't worry about that. I will be with you. The promise from the Old Testament reminds us of that. From Habakkuk, or Habakkuk, however you want to say it. Though the fig trees do not blossom, nor fruit beyond the vines, the produce of the olive fail, the fields yield no food, the flock be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. Amen to that. Amen. Please stand. Let us continue now with our worship as we confess together our Christian faith using the words of the Apostle.